Okay, so this is a part two to the last video I just made. Interesting thing happened when I downloaded the other one though. But I was gonna say that when you add up March 21st, it adds up to 222, and that's a number that we've seen significant with 49. But I just gotta show you this. So I use Screencast or whatever, Screencast-O-Matic, and out of the blue, it just quits working. I downloaded this video, the part one, and then I was going to try to make the part two, and all of a sudden, when I went to find it, let me pull up these screenshots here. Every time I typed it in, it just said 0 items, no items found. I restarted my computer even, nothing. I didn't delete it. I don't understand what the problem was. No idea. But anyway, I was looking at it when I went to re-download it, and I noticed that it was Screencast O-Matic OS times whatever 10.6 106, right? Literally, I'm just getting ready to talk about this number. That is the whole point of this whole domestic violence video, was because 10/6 is in October, and October is the Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and then there's a whole bunch of other things, but I didn't even realize that my version of Mac is a 10.6.8. So interesting. 10.6, the 106. For whatever the reason, it got deleted. And then when I downloaded it, I drug this over to my applications, and then it said, this file already exists. So, I don't quite understand it. That was 147, and then at 145 is when I kept checking it or whatever. So how in the world? I just don't understand it. Once again, I swear it's done, something's happened to where they didn't want me to do this video, or I don't know. It just doesn't make any sense. So, like I said, I was going to talk about the number 106 because Obama winks at 106 in iPad Go. 106 converted from Julian and Gregorian is also 923. The Philadelphia train crash that happened on May 12th had the number 601 on it, and the train was going 106 miles an hour. There's actually a lot of other things that have been coded with these numbers. Even this guy, Harvey Pollack, he just died on June 23rd. He was the oldest the oldest NBA employee to die, or to be alive at the time. And he died 106 days after his birthday. And he was also employed by the Philadelphia 76ers, even way back in the day when they were the Warriors. And I talked about how the 76ers, or it used to be the Philadelphia Warriors, and then they moved to San Francisco, and now they're in Golden State, which is in the San Francisco Bay. And San Francisco adds the 122, just like Pope Francis, and they're both named after the same guy, supposedly, St. Francis of Assisi. This guy even was born on 3/9 and died at 93, 3/9. Interesting. And I've talked a lot about how it has to do with Space Jam and Teen Wolf ever since the NBA All-Star Week that began on the first day of Lupercalia. But anyway, Michael J. Fox adds up to 106. And if his middle name is Andrew, so why they use the J, I don't know. But Michael Andrew Fox, 161. So I've talked about why 61 was significant a little bit in the last video. 34 adds to 61. But also tons of stuff like the Obama is 61 years old, or Obama was born in 1961. The Civil War started in 1861. Queen Elizabeth, if you just write Queen, or actually her name is Elizabeth. Sorry, I have to do this with one hand here. Elizabeth II, that even adds up to 106. And her husband, Prince Philip, was born on January 10th, June 10th, and 610 and 106, so this would be the date in America 10-6, but in Europe or England or wherever, Britain, how it would be 610. That is the 161st day of the year. So interesting. Michael J. Fox adds to 106 and then also 161. But I mean, yeah, there's a ton to do with 10-6. So interesting that my video gets like, or not my video, but the program just completely deletes off my computer right before I'm going to start talking about this. So another domestic violence case in sports, and I know I talked about it just like 2-3 videos ago, was the Kurt Busch supposedly beat up his wife or whatever, and it was in September, and then he got suspended at the beginning of the 2015 year. And before I talk about it, I just want to say it one more time. So Domestic Violence Month, Awareness Month with the purple ribbons is in October. 10-6 is in October. So it's all about October. I've talked about how, for whatever the reason, it seems like they're all doing it about the Civil War. There's all these stories that end up with 43 and 34 in them. I really feel like they're going to kill Obama. I've made videos on why I think they're going to kill the Pope as well. I think we're going to be in for a big next. I don't know if it's going to be this year. I mean, the way it looks, it's going to be this year, but it could also be next year, and I've explained that a few times in other videos. The Gregorian calendar will be 434 years old next year on October 5th or 4th. So, interesting. Anyway, Kurt Busch then. So he supposedly beat up his girlfriend or wife. I keep saying, or maybe, hold on, I can't remember if it was his wife or his girlfriend. Patty Driscoll. Yeah, it was his ex-girlfriend. But let's see. So supposedly he beat her up on September 26th, 2014 in Dover, Delaware. Oh man. So September 26th is the first day that Pope Francis will be in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, when he comes to America this year. Also, Dover, Delaware, just D is the fourth letter, D 44. Obama is the 44th president. And seriously, look at the gematria of Dover, Delaware. 61, I mean, I just talked about 61, a tiny bit. Like, I mean, scratch the surface so you understand what I'm talking about. And it also equals 133. If you break 133 down as a date, it would either be 13-3 or 3-13. And I mean, they do this different in other countries, so literally it would be May 13th. And Pope Francis became Pope on 3/13 of 2013. It's also 923 days away from 9/22. And I talked about how this day is significant in previous videos, but it goes with the 923 theme that they've been showing in movies and the media and just all kinds of things, even the media, I guess, commercials, whatever. I mean, so the Pope is from South America. That adds to 133. We have the whole gay agenda going on. The word homosexual, 133. The Hooters is the band of the guy who wrote the song "What If God Was One of Us" that was made famous by Joan Osborne. That adds up to 133. His name adds up to 122, just like Pope Francis in San Francisco. I mean, just tons of stuff with it. It's also, Pope Francis is the 266th Pope, and 133 plus 133 is 266. Also, 923 is the 266th day of the year. I even have all these interesting days here, like the 133 days left in the year is 820. If you go to 923, that's 34 days apart. You can read some of these. Even 923 plus 133 is 2-3, the 34th day of the year, just like Superbowl 47 was played on. 2/3 is also 66.6%. So I guess what I want to point out is, and I did talk about it before, but he supposedly beat up his ex-girlfriend and then whatever. He got in trouble. He got suspended by NASCAR. But read the story here. I mean, he says that his ex-girlfriend was a trained killer. He says, everyone on the outside can tell me I'm crazy, but I lived on the inside and saw it firsthand. He believed that Patricia Driscoll is a hired killer. And then she even says, in an interview late Tuesday, Driscoll called Bush's assertion ludicrous, saying he took it straight from a fictional movie script she has been working on for 8 years and that he has proofread. Very interesting, because that would be how many years Obama would be president in 2 terms. 8 years. She's a hired assassin. Kurt Busch is born on the same day as Obama. I mean, so crazy. It really is a fictional movie script, but they're bringing it to real life. That's what they do with all this stuff. I mean, they always have some weird script, and everyone just thinks, oh, what a weird thing to say, blah, 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 and they laugh about it, move on, next story comes. You know, we're living in a life of fiction. Everything you read on the news, everything you hear, I swear, this is what it is right here. A fictional movie script. So working on 8 years. She's a trained assassin who actually, supposedly, he said, killed people on missions across Central and South America. Interesting. That's where Pope Francis is from, South America, the only pope ever from Americas, and also Africa. But just interesting that she wasn't killing people in the United States. It even says, a day earlier, Bush said his ex-girlfriend told him she was a mercenary who killed people for a living. Bush said Tuesday that Driscoll had claimed that a female character in Zero Dark 30, a film depicting the CIA's hunt for Osama bin Laden, was a composite of her and other women. I mean, so if you add up Zero Dark 30, it adds up to 81. Like I talked about before, that is 34 years ago. 1934 is 81 years ago. They're mirrored numbers. So, I mean, just very, very interesting. This Kurt Busch is born on the same day as Obama, and then there's domestic violence against him, and talked about all the Civil War stuff, and she's supposedly a trained assassin. But I mean, it gets better. So when he gets suspended by NASCAR or whatever, the guy they put in for him, his last name is, or hold on, let me find it here. He got replaced by Reagan Smith. So a Bush got replaced by a Reagan. Interesting. So there's 2 president names, Bush and Reagan. Yes, the spellings are different, but what are the odds? And then there's the assassin. But look at Reagan Smith. He was born on September 23rd, 1983. Interesting. So he was born on September 23rd. And then Kurt Busch was born on the same day as Obama, and his domestic violence case was because his girlfriend was a trained assassin. But this makes me wonder about it even more. It says the charges are dropped. NASCAR head Brian France announced he would remain suspended until he did a reinstatement program from NASCAR. I mean, Brian France, right? Pope Francis, Brian France. Even born on August 2nd, the 214th day of the year, 214 Valentine's. He'll be 53 years old this year, but he is 52 years old right now. And Kurt Busch's brother Kyle got in a wreck and broke his leg and couldn't wreck earlier in the season as well. And look, he was born on 5/2, and he was also replaced by a Reagan. Just pointing it out, he's replaced by David Reagan. Interesting. Also found it interesting that her name adds up to 79, also like Ray Rice, also like Harbaugh. She was also just in the news. I mean, even 10 hours ago, she resigned as the president of Armed Forces Foundation, something to do with fraud or whatever. So found that kind of interesting. Never even heard of her. Now she's in the news again. And before I run out of time here, the 9th prime number is 23. The 23rd prime number is 83. That adds up to 106. And that interesting that I talked about how they're the same day as well. So But the next video I'm going to talk about is how the Ronald Reagan assassination attempt goes with this. So anyway, have a